Heroes War Counterattack really breaks the mold and pushes the limits whenever it comes to gacha games. Every preconceived notion you had about gacha games before needs to be thrown out the window as you enter this game, because a lot of the mechanics in this game do not work similarly to how they work in every other game, which is a very nice selling point for Heroes War Counterattack as a new mobile game. You actually have an interesting story that you can follow along with all of these new characters like mutants, X-Men type mutant characters that the game just makes you fall in love with over and over again. If you actually pay attention to the story, you grow attached to these characters. You want to see them fulfill their destiny. You want Amy to remember who she was. You want Nadine to become the leader of the mercenaries. It's indulging to the player in the sense of the game being a storyteller and us being the listener. You have a slew of different characters with all sorts of different backgrounds and personalities. Each one has a different background and personality so that you can find one for you to relate to and actually get into the story if you're into the lore of these types of games. On top of that, the combat is a new style of how to actually play gacha games. Heroes War Counterattack brings new battle styles into play where you can actually move your character and positioning actually matters. How in most gacha games, the battle system is sort of a Pokemon-esque style battle system where the only ability you have to control the tides of battle is actually which abilities you press and what stats you have. Being able to maintain your position or move into an entirely new position, being able to move into your maximum range, use a rage skill to reset your maximum range and combo off that mechanic to get some extra movement so that you could get in a perfect position to stun or dodge or do whatever you need to do in the battlefield is an amazing innovation in these types of games. A big controversial point in gacha is the actual gambling aspect of the game, but you cannot deny that the endorphin release you get from doing a ×10 draw and getting that SSR is amazing. You do the ×10 draw and you're just sitting here wondering, what did I get? The way this game works is it plans for you to get the SSR of every single character, and if you don't have the SSR card of that character, they are essentially useless. There is no endorphin release for getting the SSR of a character, because not only do you have to get one for every character, you have to get 9 of them for every character, because getting the SSR only just gives you the extra little buff that it would give the character for the passive of the card. For example, this one increases the attack by 15% when there's 3 or more enemies, but instead of pulling Amy in a separate sort of banner and getting the cards in a separate sort of manner, you have to focus on card drawing Amy 10 times. You get her once and you're able to upgrade this one time. The way it wants you to build your character can be kind of ridiculous. Not only do you have to worry about the equipment in the game as other gacha games where you have the same equipments based on attack speed, you know, attack percent versus flat attack, defense percent versus flat defense, you have your crit rate, crit damage, and all of that. But other games implement different types of gear features where, like, if you had on a certain set of gear, perhaps it would give you an extra buff for those 2 turns. Or maybe after dealing damage, it would destroy a percentage of the enemy's total health so that it helps change the meta, and then healers wouldn't be so viable in that meta. The gear should be able to define the character, but all of this gear is essentially a stat boost. You have nothing to look forward to whenever you get geared. You have no outlet to try and engage different parts of your thought process to help make your characters customizable, because the only thing you can do is, if your character is a damage dealer, build them with damage sets. If your character is a tank, build them with tank or speed sets. If your character is a support, build them with tank or speed sets. Every single character is built the same way. There's no reason why you can't have the best equipment in the game on your Farius, and then you just swap that same gear over to your Amy, and now you have the best Amy in the game. Or if you take that same equipment and you swap it over to Nakri, now you have the best Nakri in the game. There's no reason, there's no counter. There is definitely a hard limit on how powerful your characters can be, as well as because with equipment being a main selling feature of these types of games, you have to remember that 6-star equipment is where it ends. If you go into the disassemble screen, you can see that 6-star equipment will become available. So this 5-star equipment we have, no matter how much we farm, is not going to be useful to us in the future. So farming the gear feels like a waste of time, whenever that should be one of the most rewarding aspects of the game. Once your character has 5-star equips, once you have these abilities promoted, once you have them super boosted, once you have the exclusive equipment, once you have their skill card plus 10, once you have their rage card plus 3, like, that stuff takes a long time to do initially, but once it's done, it's done. My Amy is fully built. I never have to work on her again. There's absolutely no improvement I can possibly make on her at this point, because 6-star equipments are not going to be available to me until God knows when. The arena and the drive for competition is a huge selling point of games like this as well, but in this game it's not as prominent as it is in other games because there's no counters to the meta. In this game there is a definitive meta that if you roll with these certain characters, Magnus being one of them, you see him on all 5 of these top teams, Christopher is in there, you know, Lakshmi is in all of these teams, pretty much if you have the top tier characters, there's no counter. You just get the top tier characters and you're a top tier PvP player. No matter what you do, you can not be countered. And that is not fun. There is no gear to help us counter this meta. There are no other characters to help us counter this meta. And you can argue that the game is relatively new and that we should have all of these characters built in. There is counters, but there is no counter. I have urged people to show me a counter multiple times, and there is no counter. In PvP, it is Magnus and Lakshmi running the game. If you have them on your team, whoever has the fastest Magnus wins, and that is not fun. And there is one direct team that is the best team in the game, and the problem with this is these units are available to everybody. Everybody has access to every single character, which is another thing that you lose value on in this game. In other games, characters have value. If you have a Dark Dragon in Summoner's War, that unit has value. You have no value in this game, even if you have the best characters in the game. Like Christopher, it was 1,200 gems to get Christopher. It's 1,200 gems to get any character. So once you have them all, it is a chore to get them all in the first place. And once you have them all, there's nothing more to strive for. You know, there's no other reason that you should be excited to pull from a banner. Because even if you get 3 SSR cards in a ×10 pull, there's really not too much to be excited about, except that you got a lucky pull, because it's not going to change much in the game for you anyways. You could have gotten these cards that you're getting through a promotion refresh. You could have gotten them through an arena refresh. And a huge problem, I think, with the game is going to be its replayability. Same with this underground refinery. This is not a tower of ascension. This is not a resetting tower. This is a tower you climb through once, and then you click auto refine. Every single day you click 2 buttons and get some resources, and there is no reason to ever go back and do this again. So you do it once and it's done. Same with the battle center. Same with a lot of different things in this game. You do it once and you're done. We've now achieved, you know, once you've beaten stage 9 on all these, you never have to do them again. You just click sweep and it's done. Like, why am I pressing a button clicking simulator? I'm not actually playing the game. The game plays itself, and it's not even really a game at this point. It's just collecting resources from things we've already done that we just press sweep on, or we just click collect. There is no value in playing this game for my time. The in-game PvE is 2 dungeons where once you can get the 8th floor on farm, which you can do in less than 24 hours of gameplay, you're essentially in the same position as somebody who spent way longer than you to get to floor 11, because the only star available is 5-star equipment, and you can get 5-star equipment directly from level 7 even. So if you're on level 7, you're on the same playing field as a lot of in-game players. So all you have to do is farm more than them and build your characters with the resources the game gives you over time anyways, and you've lost the purpose. There's no purpose anymore. You can beat stage 7 on full farm with less than literally maybe 8 hours of gameplay. You can have this on full farm. So if all the PvE content you only have to beat once and then you automatically just skip through it every day with a button press to collect resources, the in-game PvE content doesn't really have much value in the higher levels versus the lower levels, because it doesn't matter as long as you're able to get 5-star equipment. That's all you need to compete in the arena, which is exactly what people have the same team over and over and over again with units that you can get on a fresh account. It takes literally no time to get the endgame units. There is a perfect representation of this game's entire lifespan in their official Discord. If you go to the first month this game released, they released developer notes where they got over 30 reactions. People are excited for the game. Everything is new, everything is fresh, and then complete silence for 4 to 5 months, all the way until February, which is an exact representation of what the game is like. Nothing new has happened since we've gotten the game. Releasing Guild Wars is not a new thing. That is recycling old content from other games that is now another chore for us to do, because it's not new. It's something that we have to do in every single game, and it should have been released whenever the game came out. So they post in February, 4 or 5 months later, where their reactions go from 30 all the way down to 4, which is a pretty good representation of the loss of player base as well, because the player base has been slowly dwindling down to just a very minuscule amount of players that are still active. Even in the month after that, not a single reaction to their developer note, and they have not posted a developer note since. The player base has dwindled so far down that the highest ranked guild in Guild vs. Guild PvP content is now being match-made with some of the lowest level players in the game that do not even have a level 60 member, they do not even have a level 50 mercenary, and it is just completely dead. The PvP scene, which should be the most bustling, thriving aspect of the game, has died. The suggestions for the game used to be full of actual good suggestions, and then the community managers would respond to those suggestions. Lately, the community managers have stopped responding because they know that everyone knows they've given up on this game. They expected it to take off day one. It didn't, because games like this take time, they take work. Summoner's War took a lot of time and a lot of work to get where it is today, and you can't just push out a new game, even as cool as it was in the first few days, and expect it to just take off on its own. You have to continuously work on this. People saying that the developers jumped ship. A suggestion for more community management. There's a suggestion to just shut down the game straight up, and people can agree with this. People are begging for feedback, but the community managers are done. Everybody is done with this game except for the minuscule few that still hang on to the game. And those minuscule few are the people like this that are so toxic that they would actually get content creators' channels shut down. They try to shut down my channel. They tried to shut down my Discord. They tried to get my YouTube banned. These are the most avid players of the game, and that is a bad look, because new people would join this Discord, and they would see people like this just going off on new players, going off on anybody that has a problem with the game. Anytime you bring up a problem with the game, these types of people just automatically went on you 100% and did not leave you alone for weeks at a time until you either stopped playing or just left the Discord, which is the most toxic nonsense I've ever seen in a community in a game. And it was actually encouraged by the community managers, because this stuff is being posted in the suggestions channel, and it's a drama that, like, people want nothing to do with. People are saying, yo, stop, please stop. It's getting intense. There's like too much drama. It has nothing to do with the game. And the community manager's response was, no, we accept criticism from everybody, no matter what their opinion is. That is not a good look. Do I like the game? Sure. Do I still think the game has potential? Of course I do. It could absolutely come back and make a turnaround and be one of the top gacha games. I'm sure of it, because we have a list of extremely lovable characters here with nice backstories. They have full stories and previews and everything. The only problem is the community caving in on itself, people attacking each other. Like, imagine being in a classroom that only has 6 students in it, and the teacher, which is the community managers and developers of the game, pay absolutely no attention to the students whatsoever. And then whenever one student speaks up and is like, hey, are we gonna learn something today, get anything new? Then the other toxic student jumps on him ASAP and is like, why don't you just stop talking? Why don't you just leave the classroom? Like, this is an analogy for exactly what this game is like. This game is not big enough to have a divided community. You cannot divide a community of a minuscule amount of people. The other thing is there's only a little bit over 50 characters available to us right now, and there should be more. There really should. In a lot of games, there's over 1,000 characters. 50 is pathetic. Just like you divide the player base, these HARs and Union units being divided like this is a perfect opportunity to fix the character problem. All it would take is a little bit of work. How we have, for example, a HARs Nadine that has this skill set, you could very much easily make a Union Nadine that has a different skill set, and you can push their, alignment towards HARs or towards Union, which would give us something to do in time with all the characters, give us more time in game of something we're actually devoted to doing. And then you have more debate, like more healthy debate on, oh, I chose Union Iron because of his ability does this. Or, oh, I chose HARs Madeline because instead of having the AoE pull, maybe she gets an AoE push. That is just literally double the amount of characters for us to build and double the amount of time for us to actually start building characters. There should be a game mode where I can actually play. There is nothing for me to do. Absolutely nothing for me to do in this game. If I click anything, there is a team I put for it, and I click auto, and it is done. There should be like an infinite mode where this game is technically it's technically based in a post-apocalyptic society, right? There's zombies everywhere, mutants everywhere. What if you had something where you and a few buddies could go and you put in one of your best mercenaries, and they send a couple zombies at you round 1. They send a couple more round 2. They get a little bit stronger on round 3. They get, they send in big Hulk zombies on round 5. You get a boss zombie on round 10. And it's like an interactive game where you could actually theory craft with your teammates and have more of a community in how you can like get to the highest ranking. And that would be very, very cool, and something that you play in real time and not just sit there and press auto, because the higher you actually reached, the better the rewards would get. Like, there's so many things that you could do with the game that you cannot do with a dead developing team. I think the art style of the game is great. I think the story is great. I think the idea of the combat is a very good idea. The combat implementation, where you actually have to perform combat, is not great. There is absolutely nothing you can't bring your team into and just press auto, so there's really no point in being able to move your characters around like that. I feel like this is the bare bones of a really good game, where you just basically release the mainframe of something great, and everybody was super excited with it at first, then as time went on, you just stopped working on it. With Heroes War Counterattack, you have laid down the foundation of a mansion and stopped at the foundation. There is so much potential with this game that is wasted. And it's a humongous shame, because I know this could have been a really great game. After a few months of gameplay, there's absolutely nothing left in this game for you. As in other gacha games similar to this, there is gameplay available for you up to 5 years plus. So that is a very pathetic comparison for Heroes War Counterattack. The PvP is stale. The PvE is dead because there is nothing to do. It is now a resource farming simulator. And as a resource farming simulator, I might give it a high rating, but as a competitive gacha game hosted by a multi-billion-dollar company come to us that has all the resources to make this game as good as it could have possibly been, and all of the opportunities squandered just over drama and over not having any care for the game at all these lovable characters are sitting around doing nothing, there's no reason to play. There's really not. It's gonna have to be a 4 out of 10.